Archie! Everybody can hear you. Everybody. What I want to talk about today is when you're very first starting out, when you start looking into like cast iron cooking, it can get very overwhelming very quickly because of the amount of information that's out there. So what the intention of this video is to maybe bring that down a little bit and just give you some truth, right? From not someone who's trying to sell any cast iron, not someone who's trying to sell their way of maintenancing or seasoning cast iron. I don't care how you do it, right? That's not what concerns me. What concerns me is I want to take some of that anxiety away, because they some of those videos kind of scare you a little bit into like, well, if you do this wrong, you're going to ruin your cast iron. Let me tell you something. You could run these stuff over with a pickup truck. You're not going to ruin it, okay? You might warp it, which will happen. More than likely, I have a piece that's warped from teaching teenagers how to use cast iron. It's fine. It happens. I still use it. As a matter of fact, it's now my tortilla pan. For your very first pieces of cast iron, no matter what you decide to purchase, don't worry about buying like a brand named cast iron because it's expensive. Almost all of I have a lot of cast iron, guys, and almost all of my pieces, with the exception of I think 2, are all secondhand. I've bought them all from antique shops, thrift stores, whatever. So you can find them out there in usable condition, okay? So just keep that in mind. And like, you know, you're gonna pay like $8, $5 for a cast iron pan when you get it like that. So bargain shop, don't buy brand new for your first one, unless of course someone gives it to you, and then in which case use it. Don't be afraid of it. It's iron. You know the phrase, it wears like iron? Okay. So the first 2 pieces that I suggest everybody gets is a skillet, which I've now shown you a bunch of times. I suggest an 8 or a 10-inch skillet because you can pretty much cook just about anything you need in that size. Anything bigger, I have a big one. I have a big Mama Jamma one. I don't know how big it is, but it's big. I used to have to use it and one of these when I had to make biscuits once upon a time when we had a house full of kids. Anything big like that, it's just too big. They're heavy, right? So you want to make it as easy on yourself as possible. If all you can do is get yourself one skillet, you can do anything in here. Breads, gravy, you can saute things, fry things, whatever. The skillet is priceless. Okay, then the second piece that I suggest that you get is, this one's heavier, hold on, is a Dutch oven. It's an 8-inch Dutch oven. It's an 8-inch. So this one, I'll show you without the lid. So it's gonna come in a couple different kinds of Dutch ovens that you'll see. This one has a smooth bottom on it because it's intended for cooking, like you can cook in your house on your stovetop. You could stick this right in your oven, but don't let that stop you from cooking outside with it. I'm talking, so he's going to be doing this. And it's too windy to film outside. Parrots. Can I do this? Thanks. Thank you. You'll see some that have feet on the bottom of them. He's not gonna stop. And that is so that you can like place it over hot coals out of the fire and cook that way. Now, there's different kinds of lids that you're gonna find, and you can use any of them for what don't be like, well, that has this kind of lid, so I can't use it. Nonsense. So this lid is technically intended for cooking in the house in an oven, but I've absolutely used this outside. Now this lid is sloped, right? So if you put coals on here, it's not the best for holding onto coals. Some of the lids will have a lip that goes all the way around, and the point of that lid, usually they'll come with the Dutch ovens that have feet. But the point of that is so that you can put coals on top and they don't slide off. That being said, I have used this outside in the fire with coals on top. You just have to be a little bit more creative with your placement of your coals, but it will work. Now the other thing about this lid is on the bottom, you can see it has these little nubbins on here. And the point is, so if you wanted to roast meat, and you've got the meat in here and the lid's on, and the condensation builds up inside here, what happens is it drips down these little points, and it drips onto your piece of meat. So basically it's like a self-basting Dutch oven, if you choose to use it for that. Now that being said, Most of the time, what I use this Dutch oven for, with this lid, is for making sourdough bread. See what I mean? Like, they really are interchangeable. Don't let it freak you out. I have even used the cast iron with the feet. I've even put that in my oven because I needed it. I needed to use it. It just, you have to put the feet between the racks in your oven. It works. I hope that that takes a little bit of the scary factor out of cast iron or getting started with cast iron. Don't be afraid of it. It's literally iron. It's made of iron. You're not gonna break it. You're not. You're not. Just do your best with seasoning. And like I said, we're not gonna get into that because nobody has the same recipe for seasoning their cast iron. And quite frankly, it's all up to how you wanna do it and what works for you. And here's something else. Okay, let me show you something. When you see cast iron videos on YouTube, they're showing you the most perfect piece of cast iron they could drum up. And most of the time, it's brand new and it still has the factory coating on it. Let me show you what real cast iron looks like after you've used it for a minute. Let me see if I can get my camera to pick up on this. See that? That ring in the inside? How it looks less than amazing? Now this piece I have not re-seasoned after the last time I used it. See how it like looks a little funk? That's reality, okay? Because not everybody, after cooking all day, wants to stop and then do all the proper things that you're supposed to do to re-season your cast iron. It's fine. It will be fine. You will be fine. My cast iron is still seasoned and it still works great. It's just that before I cook anything in it, I go ahead and I oil up the pan again. So I hope this takes some of the pressure out of it because it really is not that stressful of a thing. At least it shouldn't be. Cast iron has been around forever. There's a reason. It's wonderful. You can't mess it up. You can come at this with metal utensils. You're not going to ruin it because there's nothing to ruin. You could throw this out in the driveway and run it over with your truck. I don't know why you want to, but you could, and you're not gonna break it. It's fine. See what I mean? So go and enjoy your cast iron and cook something in it. And if you warp a pan, so what? You learned. Don't do that anymore. It warps because it gets too hot too fast or it cools down too fast. That's why that happens. But you learned, and now you won't do it again. And you've at least learned on like an $8 piece of cast iron versus a $40 piece of cast iron.
I walk with you through the great divide.